Some people aren't avoiding you, they're intimidated by you, and you don't even realize it. There are signals you're giving off, quiet, powerful signals, that make people uncomfortable, even afraid to approach you. If this sounds like you, pause for a second, drop a comment that says, "I see it now," and follow for more insights most people don't talk about. Silent confidence is one of the most powerful and misunderstood traits a person can carry. It doesn't announce itself loudly, it doesn't demand attention, and it certainly doesn't try to prove anything. That's exactly why it unsettles people. When you're silently confident, you move with a kind of certainty that doesn't need validation. You're not constantly checking the room for approval, not adjusting your personality to fit expectations, and not over-explaining your choices. That absence of seeking permission can feel intimidating to those who rely on external reassurance to feel secure. People are used to reading signals: nervous laughter, excessive talking, overcompensating behavior. Silent confidence removes those familiar cues. You become harder to figure out. And when people can't easily read you, they often fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. Some might see you as distant, others as arrogant, when in reality, you're just grounded within yourself. There's also a quiet self-trust that comes with it. You make decisions without needing a committee. You stand by your words without constantly revising them to keep others comfortable. That level of internal alignment can highlight insecurity in others, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your presence contrasts with their uncertainty. Even your body language reflects it: relaxed, steady, unhurried. You don't rush to speak, and you're not afraid of pauses. That calm pacing can feel like pressure to someone who is used to filling silence quickly. It's not that you're trying to dominate a space, but your stillness naturally draws attention. Silent confidence also signals that you're not easily influenced. You won't fold under subtle pressure, and you won't be swayed by opinions just for the sake of belonging. For people who are used to controlling dynamics or reading reactions to maintain an upper hand, this becomes uncomfortable. They can't predict you, and they can't steer you. And that's where the intimidation really comes from. Not from anything you say, but from everything you don't need to say. Not seeking validation or approval is a subtle but incredibly powerful trait that many people misinterpret. When you operate from a place where you don't need others' permission to feel worthy or capable, it sends a quiet but unmistakable signal. You are autonomous, self-assured, and emotionally independent. Most people spend a large portion of their lives looking for reassurance. Do I look okay? Did I do the right thing? Are they impressed? And they expect others to operate the same way. When someone enters a room and doesn't conform to that pattern, it disrupts the familiar social script, and that discomfort often manifests as unease or even intimidation. Not seeking approval doesn't mean arrogance or detachment. It's not about dismissing others. It's about knowing your own value without needing constant external confirmation. You make choices because they align with your principles, desires, or goals, not because you want applause or acceptance. When someone notices that you are unshakably secure in your decisions, it can feel destabilizing to them, particularly if they rely on external validation themselves. Your internal compass doesn't bend under pressure, and that can make people feel like their usual influence or social leverage doesn't work on you. This mindset also affects communication. You don't over-explain your thoughts, apologize unnecessarily, or seek to justify your presence or opinions. You speak when you have something to say, and your words carry weight because they come from certainty rather than obligation. Others instinctively sense that your behavior isn't performative. This authenticity, combined with emotional independence, creates a magnetic aura that can inspire admiration in some, but for those who thrive on control or insecurity, it can feel threatening. Additionally, your actions reflect self-sufficiency. You set boundaries confidently, make decisions decisively, and move through life without needing constant affirmation. People around you can sense this non-neediness. The absence of overt dependence on their approval interrupts their expectations and can cause subtle tension. In effect, your independence highlights their own reliance on validation, often triggering discomfort or defensiveness. Ultimately, not seeking validation or approval communicates that your sense of self is complete, whole, and non negotiable. It's not about intimidating others consciously, it's simply about existing in your power, fully aware that you don't need anyone else's permission to be enough. Maintaining strong eye contact is a small action with an outsized impact on how people perceive you, and it's one of the reasons your aura can make others uneasy without you even realizing it. Eye contact is a direct channel of communication that conveys confidence, presence, and authenticity. When you meet someone's gaze steadily and without hesitation, it signals that you are fully engaged, self assured, and unafraid of scrutiny. Most people are accustomed to fleeting or distracted glances because they themselves feel uncertain, nervous, or self conscious. When someone confronts a person whose eyes are unwavering, it can feel almost like an unspoken challenge. They sense that you are unshakable and fully aware of yourself, and that can be disarming. There's also an element of transparency in strong eye contact. By holding a steady gaze, you are conveying that you have nothing to hide. You are not seeking to manipulate, deceive, or bend to expectations. That authenticity can be inspiring, but it can also make people uncomfortable, especially if they are used to relying on subtle social cues, distractions, or evasions to maintain their sense of control. Your gaze communicates clarity and conviction, and it forces others to confront their own insecurities. Another factor is predictability, or rather, the lack of it. Many people are used to gauging others' thoughts and emotions through brief, tentative eye contact. When you maintain a strong, calm, and unwavering look, it disrupts their usual social calculations. They can't easily read you, and that uncertainty triggers subtle tension. You're signaling without words that you are fully present in the moment and fully aware of the dynamics around you. This unspoken awareness makes some people hesitant or cautious because they realize that your perception is sharper than they expected. Strong eye contact also conveys power without aggression. Unlike loud gestures or forceful speech, it's subtle yet deeply influential. It communicates that you are grounded, composed, and in control of yourself and your environment. People sense that your attention is intentional, measured, and unshakable, and that level of quiet authority can feel intimidating. Ultimately, maintaining strong eye contact establishes a presence that draws attention while simultaneously creating a space of respect. And for those who are insecure, that space can feel almost too revealing, leaving them unsettled by your quiet, undeniable confidence. Being comfortable with silence is a quality that often goes unnoticed, yet it profoundly shapes how people perceive your presence and energy. Most people fear silence because it creates a space where nothing is immediately controlled or directed. Conversations are usually filled with words to fill gaps, to entertain, or to reassure others, and this habit comes from a need to manage social comfort. When someone naturally embraces quiet, it can feel unfamiliar and even unsettling. You are not rushing to speak, to explain, or to respond, and that creates a subtle tension for those around you. They are forced to confront the space you occupy without being able to influence it with chatter or noise. Being comfortable with silence communicates confidence and self-possession. It signals that you are not dependent on constant interaction to validate your thoughts or presence. You don't feel pressured to fill every pause, and you aren't distracted by the need for approval. That steadiness is inherently intimidating to people who rely on verbal affirmation or who are accustomed to measuring influence through conversation. They may feel that they cannot read you or predict your next move because your energy doesn't bend to social norms of constant dialogue. Silence also amplifies your presence. In a room full of people talking over one another, the person who can simply exist in stillness draws attention naturally. It's an invisible form of authority. Without raising your voice, without asserting dominance, you establish yourself as someone whose inner world is independent and self-contained. This level of composure creates a mirror effect, reflecting the unease, impatience, or insecurity of those around you who are not as comfortable in stillness. Additionally, silence allows your words, when spoken, to carry more weight. Because you do not speak to fill space, your statements are noticed, processed, and felt. Each word becomes deliberate, precise, and impactful. Unlike casual chatter that blends into the background noise, people sense that your communication is intentional, which can create a quiet but powerful form of influence. Ultimately, being comfortable with silence is not about alienating others or creating tension deliberately. It is about embracing your own space, your own presence, and your own calm, which can unsettle others simply because they are not used to encountering someone so unshakably centered. Not oversharing or over-explaining yourself is a subtle yet incredibly powerful trait that can make your aura feel intimidating without you even trying. Many people unconsciously fill conversations with unnecessary details, justifications, or personal anecdotes in order to be liked, understood, or accepted. This constant need to explain or reveal creates a sense of predictability and vulnerability that others can read easily. When you don't do that, when you speak only what is necessary and leave space for mystery, it sends a message of self-possession and control. People sense that you are not dependent on their approval or validation, and that subtle independence can be quietly disarming. By keeping your thoughts measured and your personal life private, you establish boundaries without ever needing to declare them outright. There's a tension created when others realize they can't pry into your world or predict your reactions. Your energy becomes harder to manipulate because it isn't offered freely for assessment or interpretation. This doesn't mean you're cold or unapproachable. It means your presence is self-contained and intentional, and that can be both magnetic and intimidating. Not oversharing also signals emotional maturity. You are able to process and handle experiences internally rather than using conversation as a tool for external validation or sympathy. People who are used to oversharing themselves or expecting others to do the same may feel unsettled because your approach highlights their own reliance on external feedback. Your restraint communicates confidence, self-reliance, and an unspoken awareness of social dynamics that others often lack. Over-explaining, by contrast, often stems from insecurity, the need to justify choices, to preempt criticism, or to be understood. When someone doesn't engage in this behavior, it breaks the usual social pattern. Others can sense it immediately, and it creates a subtle psychological imbalance. They can't predict or control you, and that unpredictability can trigger discomfort. Ultimately, choosing not to overshare or overexplain is a deliberate form of power. It preserves your energy, maintains your autonomy, and communicates that your life, your decisions, and your emotions are yours to manage. People feel that energy, even if they can't consciously articulate it, and that is why it can feel intimidating. Emotional control is one of the most misunderstood and quietly powerful traits a person can possess, and it is often what makes your aura feel intimidating to others without your awareness. Many people operate reactively, allowing their moods, impulses, and frustrations to dictate their behavior. They speak first and think later, react sharply to minor slights, and wear their emotions on their sleeves. When someone encounters a person who maintains composure regardless of external pressures, it creates a subtle tension. Your ability to regulate your feelings signals that you are not easily swayed, manipulated, or provoked, which can be unsettling to those who rely on emotional reactions to gauge, influence, or control social dynamics. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing feelings, it means mastering them. You recognize your emotions, understand their origin, and choose how and when to express them. This self-mastery allows you to remain calm in situations where others might panic, overreact, or lash out. People unconsciously notice that your reactions, or lack thereof, don't follow the predictable patterns they are accustomed to. Because they cannot easily predict how you will respond, Your presence becomes a mirror reflecting their own impulsivity or insecurity, and that can provoke discomfort or even fear. When you maintain emotional control, your interactions carry a sense of stability and groundedness. Your words are measured, your tone steady, and your body language composed. You create a space where drama cannot thrive, and because you do not feed into chaos, people around you often feel powerless or uncertain. This is especially true for those who thrive on conflict, manipulation, or emotional volatility. They are disarmed by someone who doesn't react to provocation or pressure. Your composure also enhances your credibility and influence. Decisions you make or statements you deliver carry weight because they come from a place of clarity rather than impulse. People sense that your judgments are deliberate, not dictated by fleeting emotions, which can feel intimidating to those who are emotionally reactive themselves. Ultimately, emotional control projects quiet strength. It signals that you are in command of yourself, not dependent on external validation, and resilient to manipulation. That stability, so effortless and natural to you, can unsettle others simply because it contrasts sharply with their own lack of mastery. Walking away without drama or closure is a behavior that can leave a lasting impression on people, often making your aura feel intimidating without you even realizing it. Most people struggle with endings. They linger, over-explain, seek validation, or try to justify their decisions when leaving a situation or relationship. This tendency comes from fear of judgment, uncertainty, or the desire to control how others perceive them. When someone does the opposite, leaves decisively, quietly, and without excessive explanation, it creates a subtle but powerful psychological impact. Your ability to disengage calmly signals that you are independent, self-sufficient, and unshakable. Walking away without drama demonstrates that you are not attached to outcomes or dependent on others' approval. You do not linger to debate, defend, or seek permission for your choices. Your exit is final yet composed, conveying that your energy and time are valuable and that you will not invest in situations that no longer serve you. This behavior unsettles people who expect manipulation, negotiation, or emotional leverage to influence decisions. They realize that your boundaries are non-negotiable, and unlike them, you are not swayed by guilt, pressure, or attempts to control you. There is also an element of unpredictability in this trait. People often feel a sense of authority or influence when they can anticipate reactions and behaviors. When you leave silently and without drama, it disrupts their expectations. They cannot argue, convince, or guilt you into staying because your decision is firm, deliberate, and unreactive. That lack of predictability can make your presence feel even more powerful because your actions are governed by your principles rather than social pressure. Walking away gracefully also communicates emotional intelligence and self-respect. It shows that you understand when a situation no longer aligns with your values or goals and that you are willing to prioritize your peace and well-being. Unlike dramatic exits fueled by anger or resentment, your departure is intentional, composed, and free from unnecessary emotional baggage. Ultimately, this behavior signals quiet power. You don't need closure to validate your choices, and your ability to move on without fanfare reflects an internal strength that can leave others feeling unsettled simply because it highlights their dependence, indecision, or emotional volatility.